about the monster.
Buenos dias or buenas noches, it's your favorite Blanco Latino, and I have seen Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, and holy crap, I could not stop smiling majority of the movie. This movie made me laugh so much, and it felt like I was watching a wrestling match, especially for a big moment that Godzilla pulled. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Well, not a wrestling match, I guess more of a cartoon. That's what everyone else is saying, right? That this movie is basically a cartoon, and it truly is, and I freaking love it. Look, there are people who just hate the movie because it's not like Godzilla -1, but to me personally, we got different continuities of Godzilla, and that's fine. You know, we can pick and choose what version of Godzilla we want to watch and enjoy. At least we have options. It's not like Star Wars universe, how that franchise is basically fucked, and the MCU, how that went downhill after Endgame. We don't have alternative options. At least the DC comic stuff, there's alternative options with animated universes and video game universes, but it seems like James Gunn is going to change that. So overall, I'm not going to lose my shit because they changed the tone of the Monsterverse. America had their chance of creating a good touching story with the human cast while also giving us cool monster action. Majority of the human characters suck in the Monsterverse. That was always the criticism, and Warner Brothers heard our plead and gave us a movie that solely focuses on the monsters while the humans are basically sidelined in this film. So yeah, just let Japan do their own thing because they know how to write characters, while America seems like they don't. Seems like an ongoing issue since 2018. Alright, let's talk about the film. This is solely a King Kong movie. It is not a Godzilla movie, and that's going to disappoint a lot of Godzilla fans, including myself. He's basically sprinkled throughout the first and second act of the film until he plays a major role in the third act helping Kong out. But I do like the fact that Godzilla's portrayed kind of like the Superman of the surface world, but we'll get to that later. Let's talk about the synopsis of the film. So Kong's just chilling in the Hollow Earth. He was doing a little bit of hunting until he accidentally opens a chasm, which a bunch of great apes, which are led by the Scar King himself, and because of that, now the Scar King is loose and he is getting his army ready to take over the earth, while Godzilla in the surface is prepping himself to fight the Scar King after hearing a distress call from the Iwi tribe, who make a return from the Skull Island film. And so Godzilla and Kong must team up to fight the Scar King along with a secret kaiju that they failed to hide in the advertisement named Shimu, who did cause the first ice age to happen. The story is really basic. Bad guy wants to freeze the earth, and yeah, our heroes must team up to stop him. What you see and hear is what you get. I will say that Godzilla Kong is one of those films that when you're trying to tell someone what happens in the story or explain them the certain events that happen, it's kind of a situation where they just don't believe you, or they just find it hard to believe that actually happened in the film. I had a fellow work friend of mine just couldn't believe what I was explaining to him what happened, and I told him to just watch the film because that's how batshit insane this film has gotten, or even the Monsterverse in general, the direction they choose to go with, which is catered to definitely a younger audience. Because if I was a kid growing up with this film, it'd probably be the best movie I've ever seen in my life. It's truly no different to those who grew up with the Bayformers back when it first started in 2007. They have a special place in their hearts growing up with those films, and I feel like the Monsterverse films, especially this kind of film, will be something special towards them. I find that really interesting when it comes to different generations growing up with a certain type of film, whether it's action or animation, and they consider that peak movie experience when it came to growing up as a kid. Most people around my age grew up with Jurassic Park, but I feel like this generations of children will grow up with Godzilla x Kong. At least both generations can agree we both grew up with a movie that featured a big giant dinosaur. But anyways, let's talk about what I liked about the film. I love the action. Everything with the monsters kicking ass was awesome. Love every minute of it. They definitely went really creative on how the kaijus fight, especially the zero-G part where everyone was just zero gravity and you just see Godzilla twisting and twirling around. It was super cool. He was basically flying and then tackles that kaiju. Godzilla is truly Superman. And we gotta give props to the visual effects artists, because this is the most animated film when it comes to how the kaijus behave, body language in the entire Monsterverse. As soon as we see the Scar King, you get an idea what his character's like, just how he poses. It's full anime and he's just very expressive. It was really awesome. We even get scenes with just the monsters interacting with each other, and you get an idea what they're thinking, how they're feeling, especially with the scene where Zuko was luring Kong into a trap and you can see his face looking very sus. It just says it all, especially when Kong was offering some food towards Zuko and you can see him reject him, but eventually he warms up to him because of his compassion. And this is the first time I actually like Kong as a character. I enjoy Kong Skull Island, but I was never a big King Kong fan. I was always Godzilla fan, but this movie made me like him. You get everything about him, about his loneliness, that he was the last of his kind supposedly, until he realizes he wasn't alone and that he stepped up to take down the Scar King so that he can return to lead his people into, I guess, a new empire. And he also takes that fatherly role for Zuko, but we'll say Zuko was a little shit. I'm actually glad he wasn't all cute and stuff like a Baby Yoda situation. That creature was a menace and he deserved what came to him, where Kong just basically just swing him around like a little toy, smack him with the other apes, and then he just yeets him towards another ape. That was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just using basically a child as a weapon. I will say the Hollow Earth looks beautiful as well. Just the different landscapes that we see. And while we see the monster's point of view, we can see the, I guess, grass that they're next to, which are basically just trees. And they shape them to be just normal looking trees that us humans could see. But they're just so small in comparison to even just Zuko. Because I do believe Zuko is Kong size during the Skull Island film, which he definitely looks a lot more childish than how Kong looked. But yeah, the scaling is unreal when it comes to the Hollow Earth. Just how everything is small to the Titans in comparison. This movie cost $137 million and they spent the money pretty well, because you find that hard to believe compared to the other budgets of the Monsterverse films, because they cost more, while this is basically the cheapest Monsterverse movie they ever made. I'll tell you the reason why is because they use pretty expensive actors to be in their film so that they can get normies to watch a Godzilla movie, while the only star power that you need for a Godzilla film or Kong film is Godzilla and Kong, and probably Mothra if they ever plan to make a solo Mothra movie, because in this film they just use actors who are basically cheap compared to the big mega stars, so they can spend the rest of the budget on the CGI. Thank you Warner Brothers and Adam Wingard for hearing our cries. And I like the villains. So Scar King, like I said before, really cool villain. He basically mocks Kong how he walks and acts and stuff like that, but then gets very serious and he's very fast and nimble compared to Kong. And I like Shimu as well, her story about being Scar King's prisoner and that she caused the first ice age and she's forced to do it again. I find that pretty interesting, and it's pretty unreal that she was first teased in a Call of Duty event during the marketing for Godzilla vs. Kong. So Shimu was definitely planned for a while, but the info that we got about them is very surface level. I kind of wish we had more in-depth lore behind Shimu and Scar King, but it's very basic. Godzilla's the one that trapped them, and there you go. Maybe it's my fault, maybe I just watch way too many Dangerfield videos, which subscribe to them by the way, they're actually really good. But I do hope we get to see more Shimu in the sequels, depending on what they're gonna do next for the Monsterverse. Mothra was a good surprise. I kind of knew Mothra was in the movie. I heard some behind the scenes about it, but it was really cool to see her. And apparently they were teasing that she might have a solo movie because there was something in the post-credit scene or mid-credits. I don't know if that was true because I didn't stay for the credits at all. But yeah, I like the fact that she was the one to get Kong and Godzilla to work together. That was a nice touch, and the whole side plot with Gia being connected to Mothra, I didn't mind. I mean, they just did an Easter egg with the twin stuff in King of the Monsters, but that's it. It was very surface level. So I guess the Monsterverse did their own version of Mothra's place in this universe. But I do think her being the guardian of the Iwi tribe was definitely a bit of a retcon, because isn't Mothra supposed to be the protector of the people, but it seems like they gave that title to just the great apes in general, which I guess is now Kong's responsibility, while Godzilla is the protector of Earth. Oh well, I think it works either way for our trio, because basically now Kong, Mothra, and Godzilla are the trinity of the Monsterverse. Basically Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, which is kind of unreal to see, especially with the shot of them roaring together, which she was removed from that shot in the trailer. Alright, let's talk about some of the stuff I didn't like. This movie had a lot of dumb stuff happening. Especially, it was cool to see that guy from Andor, but he just got ate by a tree all of a sudden, and we just moved on. I thought that was really bizarre and random. But yeah, the human characters, I mean, they're not bad, but the exposition they have to explain certain stuff that's happening in the movie is just so boring and generic. How we got the backstory of Scar King and Shimu was just explained through just ADR from Rebecca Hall, and it was just it just made my eyes roll. Speaking of ADR, there's a lot of ADR moments where characters are just commenting what Godzilla's doing. People are just saying, oh, Godzilla's drilling through this tunnel, or Godzilla killed the kaiju, or Godzilla's going inside, Godzilla is eating the nuclear power, he's absorbing it, Godzilla's going to sleep.
Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power.
The generator is losing power. Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power. Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power. Godzilla is approaching the generator. The generator is losing power. Godzilla is approaching the generator! The generator is losing power!
And then we had this very cartoony moment where we get introduced to this new kaiju, and then the computer just tells the audience everything about it. And it was the most video game type of thing I've ever seen, and it was just dumb, because I feel like some of these people would know what this kaiju does. And yeah, gonna have to put Godzilla in the negative. He's hardly in the film. I wish we had more of him or gave him more of a character, but he's basically Superman. He's protector of the Earth. But I will say him sleeping in the Coliseum at the beginning of the film and then ending the film with him going back to that Coliseum to sleep was hilarious. But hopefully next film we could focus on Godzilla and get to see him as a character, what his backstory is about, because I don't know if it's in the comics or any outside media, but what is Godzilla's backstory? All we know is that his kind was at war with the great apes, and that's it. There's just weird certain events that just happen, like how Kong got his gauntlet. It was just so convenient that the gauntlet was at the place that the humans checked out in their Hollow Earth base. They just never mentioned it or set it up early in the film. It just randomly goes, oh, we have the solution. We got the glove. It just happens to be in the place that we checked out earlier. So yeah, no setup. It just happens. And the amount of collateral damage in the film is unfreaking believable. Oh, it truly is that meme in SpongeBob that we saved the city and everything's on fire. The more you think about the logical stuff in this movie, the more it will just give you a headache. But if you know what you're in for, you're going to have a good time. And that's what I did. I knew it was not going to be Godzilla -1. I knew the Monsterverse was going to take a different direction, and I'm all here for it. Let Japan take the more serious route because they know how to write a story. Because overall, this film was fun. It was awesome to watch. The fight scenes are great. The CGI is great. The story is really bare bones and simple. I wish we had a bit more information about Scar King and Shimu, but they show up really late in the film, so we don't get enough time with them. The human character's not bad. The humor is pretty funny. I wish we would have seen Godzilla a lot more, but this is really a Kong film, and it was cool to see Mothra. There's like no logic behind this film. Don't even bother to try to think about it. And the exposition for each of the Titans is just garbage. Really shitty ADR exposition dumps and characters just commenting everything that the monsters do, which we're not dumb, we got eyes, we can see everything and absorb information of what we see, okay? Stop doing that. It's something that most modern movies have been doing with ADRs of characters commenting of what the character's doing every single time. Like we're watching WrestleMania or some bullshit like that. But I think this is a great start for the Monsterverse, for this new direction. I do believe this film will make heaps of money, and they will make more. If we do get Solo Mothra, hopefully that will be pretty cool. Don't make it cringe, America, please, I'm begging you. We'll see what the box office is like, and if it's good, then the Monsterverse will be thriving, while the MCU and DCU, and let's just throw Star Wars Universe in there as well, are failing. So Godzilla x Kong, have you seen it? What do you think about it? Comment down below, let me know. And what do you think about the new direction that the Monsterverse is going into? Are you excited for it, or are you just gonna wait to see if Japan will make a sequel for Godzilla -1? I'm just excited for both. I'm excited for the Monsterverse, what they're gonna do next, and I'm excited to see the -1 sequel, because we get the best of both worlds. We get the crazy, wacky monster brawls, while we get to see Japan's darker take on the kaiju stories. And for that, I am truly done, and I appreciate you guys for watching the video all the way. Love you guys so much, and it's time to let you go. And for that, I wish you guys a good day or good night. Ciao.